What's up, guys? This is Frenzy. This is going to be the first video for replays from UKAzzer's competition. I'll go over a little bit of what I did to change my castle throughout the competition as well. I changed quite a few things, which made it start winning a little bit more towards the end. We can go over the first, second, and third place prizes from the competition. For first, we had Switcher 7. For second, we had Pieter. And for third, we had Jabutinator. And then for the attacker medal, we had Jabutinator as well, and for Community Choice Award, which is basically the uniqueness of a castle, we had Resna. Resna's castle is really cool. It was basically one big maze, and I think a lot of people would have had more trouble with that if the timers weren't so long, changed in the last patch. In terms of how I did, I was kind of middle of the pack for defending, I think, and for attacking, I was second place. I went 15-2. And Jabutinator went 16-1. So he got one more win than me. Unfortunate, but I think I did pretty good attacking. I didn't make too many mistakes. Pieter and I don't remember exactly who beat me as well. It was someone who started with a Z. There was a couple people. I don't really remember, but I died pretty quickly in both of their castles. Pieter has a really good castle. I'll probably end up going over that in the next coming days. But basically, we're going to go over replays today. So let's go back to the beginning of the competition. I believe Grumble was the first person who attacked me. So basically, we'll just look over all of the replays. They kind of were in order. So you can see I started off losing quite a bit. And then towards the end, when I started changing my castle up, as I was getting more and more replays, I started winning more and more. And then I think the last one was somewhere up in here. Pieter was the last person who attacked my castle. So I ended, I believe, 8-9, which is 40%-ish win rate, 45, whatever. Pretty close to 50%, which is okay, but not exactly where I want to be. There's still a couple things that I need to change in my castle. I'm probably going to rebuild different parts of it, but I made a few little changes. So let's watch at least the first three or four replays, and then I'll go over kind of things that I changed, and then in maybe part 2 or 3 or something, we'll go over more replays of the castle as it stands now, or at least more towards where it stands now. So let's jump into this one. We'll probably run it in times 2 because it's an 11-minute replay. And he's a mage. Mages in general, I feel, are a little bit weaker compared to some of the other classes. So the fact that a mage got through, I think actually quite a few mages got through my castle. There's some really good ones at level 32 that have quite a bit of gear, which makes it a little bit easier for them. But a lot of their AoE comes from their abilities rather than their normal attacks. So it makes it a little bit more difficult for them to deal with things like explodifiers. And then their single target high damage dealing abilities aren't that amazing, which is why it's a little bit easier to kill them, I think, than, say, knights with like 4,000 hit points or something. And then archers that can dodge almost anything really easily. So if you guys remember from the castle building episode, this kind of looks very similar to what I had before. And it's doing pretty well. I made him use one potion on the first room. I feel like that's a pretty good place to be in. And it took 2 minutes, which I'm pretty happy with, actually. I haven't really changed anything with this first room, except for I think maybe one trap. Alright, and then for the second one, he's going to wait around for the Scorpio. I think that's a fine play. And just kind of stand here and kill it. I mean, I think this is fine. It's about exactly how I expect it to go. I think maybe these traps are more like patch 16, patch 17, or not these traps, but these rooms. I don't think they're nearly as effective as they used to be back then. I think there's better rooms and better placements for creatures, at least at level 32. Level 30 and level 32 changed quite a bit in terms of castle building. And then we had this mouse trap that has, 3 spinning wheels. He did the smart play, which was to pull the Jimbo. Mages are people who can pull things around walls very easily. There's actually one ability that I'm not going to name, but it can still attack through walls. I don't want to name it because I feel like everyone will start using it again. Actually, you guys are going to end up seeing it in one of the replays. Someone used it to attack through walls. I'm not sure exactly how you do it, if you have to, shift Q the command or something like that, but either way, this is all pretty standard. He still only used one potion. Waited around for the Scorpios, or not the Scorpios, the explodifiers. You notice how he rotated his camera back there to see through the wall? That was pretty smart. see what he was expecting to come, expecting next, you know. And again, here, he just keeps the Zeke pretty much stunned for the entire round, which is smart. And that's one thing I always talk about, if you can engage something the way that you want to. You notice how this Zeke got off like 3 volleys and the other one only got off 1? That's because he was able to engage it and like plan out his attack, you know, by seeing exactly what he had to go up against. He's pulling all the way back, and I'm not exactly sure why. I guess he's just waiting for that that Mr. Boom Boom to come around, which maybe actually would be like the best thing that he could do. I think the biggest problem with waiting around for explodifiers is that they constantly shoot regardless of if the hero is within range, you know? I think that makes it quite a bit more difficult to engage them because they're just constantly throwing out those bombs regardless of the range that they're at, so they take a lot longer to walk all the way around. Even if you pull all the way back, way out of their range, they still just keep launching those bomblets. This is one of the newer groups that I faced, and I think I didn't even put this in my castle building series. I changed this out. I think a Pete Poundmore was up there before. I faced this when I was farming for my 1.6 million to level up my castle from 28 to 32. I faced that combo and I really liked it, so I put it in my castle. Alright, this is one of the new things as well, as I used a spike trap over there to start limiting vision. We'll see if it works out the way I want it to, actually. So let's go down to ×1 for this point. Basically, you can see that I have something up here, and I've switched around the placement of these constantly because people are able to pull it through the wall. I'm not sure if this is going to work the way that I want it to here, if he's going to pull it through the wall or not. Because right now how it is, you can pull it through. And you can barely see it up at the top there, so he probably will. My idea would be to make you go over the trap, aggro this, and then come all the way back. I'm actually pretty happy with this because he took a tick of spike trap damage. So the whole point is to take 1, 2, or 3 ticks of spike trap damage. My ideal area would be 2 or 3, right? So he's already taken 1 tick, so let's see if he takes another tick going over that. Because it's quite a bit of damage from spike trap. He already took a second tick right there. That's 1200 damage. And there's a third tick, and then that's all he's going to take. But as you can see, he's pretty low health, and then he heals up with his Death Bolt ability, which is unfortunate. But spike traps are a really good way of adding sustained damage to castles. Fire bombs are pretty good, but they're pretty easy to dodge as well. And obviously ballista traps, they're pretty easy to dodge, but sometimes people don't notice that they're getting hit by them, and they take a little bit of extra damage. But I have to say that spike traps are right up there with the top trap to use currently for castles that want to do sustained damage. Alright, and then we have my Count's Nottingham. You know, it might have been better for me to put in a Bad Dog or a Bone Puppeteer instead of this Dampener. I don't really know. I just kind of threw it in because we had to have a pre-made boss. I didn't expect him to kill anybody. I don't think he did. He made a few people use potions, but that's about it. But I did have to face some people's Counts and Nottinghams that had increased attack speed on him, and it was quite a bit more difficult. Not really, you know, so much so that it's like, oh my god, you should use this boss, but it makes him a reasonably difficult boss to take care of. You know, I forced him to use a potion right there, so that's pretty good. Alright, so that's the first replay. He's going to end the castle there. Let's see. Alright, so I'm probably going to go through all of these. Obviously not in one video because that would be 17 replays, which is insane. But we'll do like 4 or something. Alright, we'll put it on ×2 speed. He gets through pretty quickly. 610 is actually on the fast side of what I would expect people to get through my castle. This is a pretty good play by him. He ends up kind of pulling everything together and volleying it really nicely. He still hasn't used a potion. He's hardly taken any damage. So he plays this out pretty well, I have to say. That would be one... This replay in itself would be one reason to change up this room quite a bit. And I've already changed this trap specifically. I don't know if it would help, do exactly what I needed to do, because he did roll back and forth a couple of times to take care of it, and so I ended up putting a spike trap in here instead, which would add a little bit more damage. If you had to go over spike trap, within a certain amount of time, you would end up taking a tick of damage more times than not. This is what I'm talking about with being able to pull things over these areas. I've been trying to work on my trap placement to make it so that you can't volley over my trap that I have here in order to pull the group. I'm not sure if I have it right yet or not, but we'll see. I've also replaced that Mega Mutton, mainly because he's able to be one-shot by a lot of archers, and that's just not good for me. I don't like an elite that is 12 points that can be one-shot. Obviously Zeke can be one-shot, but you want to have a Defendatron on him more times than not anyway, so I think that's okay. I believe he takes, I don't know if this is the replay, but someone takes an arrow. Yeah, right there, he takes an arrow. And he actually got like 2 blocks off of that as well. I think if he took all 3 of the shots as damage, he might have died right there. He's only got 2,900 health, and each Zeke shot is about 1,200 damage, so it's very possible he could have died right there if he didn't get those blocks. Alright, so he's used 2 potions. As you can see, these Defendatrons are really good at making the attacker move, which is great for trap placement, It's great to add a little bit of sustained damage from your traps. If they have to constantly move around, and those Stairmasters kind of give you... they put the time to attack, you have to attack in between their shots, regardless. You have to attack. If you want to deal any sort of damage, you have to attack in between their attacks. Right, you can move out of the way and then you can attack a couple times. So if it happens to be when you move, you're inside of a trap area, you can either choose to attack, or you can take damage, or you can choose to, deal 0 damage and wait for the Stairmaster to attack again, dodge, and then try to get another attack. So I like those units quite a bit. Also, if you're really close to them, their attack is so quick that you can't get outside of the circle before it hits you. If you're close enough to them, it'll just kind of explode right next to them, and you'll be standing in the AoE and take at least 400 damage, or 3 to 400 from that, so it's pretty good. Alright, so he makes it through. He uses 3 potions. 3 potions is okay, but he made it through pretty quickly. Zazek was the quickest, and he only used 1 potion. I would have to say he died in a lot of people's castles because he played so risky, but in terms of quick attackers, he's definitely the one that made it through everybody's castle the quickest one, in terms of people who made it through, He died in a couple people's, but he's pretty good at attacking, I have to say. Obviously, if you want to go for specifically wins from castles, you don't want to play exactly like this, but being able to get through a castle at level 32 in 4 minutes and 50 seconds is, not something to laugh about. It's a pretty good time. And you can see his skill loadout is a little bit different than mine. He uses Freezing Shot. It's actually, it's something to think about using. 12 mana, slows the target, does AoE damage, I believe. I used it for 1 patch once when it was really good, and I wasn't sure exactly what to use. Right now I'm using, bear traps instead, and kind of going for more of a control archer than, a straight up DPS rolling around archer. And it's working for me right now, so... I've switched out this Jimbo as well. He's only gotten 1 hit since I had him in for a couple weeks, and for about half of the attacks in this tournament. So I switched him out for some more Stairmasters and stuff like that. You'll see when I go over my castle at the end of this video, and what I change and stuff like that. I might do that next, and then I might do more of a recent replay, one that I win or something, so you guys can kind of see how it works. So he's just going through my castle really quickly. He actually just rolls right past these, which is, something you don't really think about. People don't normally play as aggressively as he does if they want to actually make it through with a pretty high success rate. Same as this, they don't usually roll into the room and then continue to fight in here. You take a lot of extra damage that way. And this rotating fire trap if I knew someone was going to roll all the way around through this into kind of unknown territory, I would replace that trap with something else. If I noticed a lot of people were doing that, but he's the only one so far. And then he goes into my boss room. Boss room isn't really all that exciting. We'll to like ×4 just to get through it. You know, it's just a Counts Nottingham. It's nothing amazing. Alright, so let's take a look at my castle as it is right now, and then we'll do one more replay. So you can see a couple things that I changed. Basically, I think all of this is the same. Obviously, I switched out some of my groups of Explodifiers for Mr. Boom Booms because they're better when I got up to level 32. That's one thing that I changed. This Spike Trap here was, again, when that guy rolled all the way through and then kept rolling back and forth. I wanted to prevent that. Also, some people were pulling this Scorpio, and then to make it so that they would never get pulled into the next group, they were pulling all the way back around this corner, which is fine with the timers. So I wanted to do something to prevent that, which was the Spike Trap as well. Again, this used to be 3 mouse wheels, and it used to be a Jimbo inside of here. What I've done now is I've changed this to a Spike Trap here, which actually denies more vision than the Mousetrap did. With the Mousetrap, you could get all the way over into this corner here. And then I put this guy up in the corner here so that he can't be volleyed from this area here. And I pulled this guy here. So basically you have this small area right here where you'd be safe if you like vaulted over to this point. Rolled over to this point. And then I have it kind of as good as I can to block the shots from hitting the Defendatrons. So hopefully you can't headshot these guys, but you probably can get an angle somehow on them. I'm assuming if you went up towards the wall like this, you could probably hit this Defendatron. There's not much I can do to really stop that from happening, but I think it's a pretty good room. Basically, you're trapped in by 2 spike traps now instead of mouse wheels to take more damage, and these guys will do a reasonably good job at, you know, doing at least some damage. So I think this is a pretty good group. Like I said, I switched out this Mega Mutton, I put in a Spider, and I put in another Stairmaster here. So basically my hope is that you get knocked down by the Spider, and then you're sitting inside of this little displacement field or whatever in the Stairmaster, and I think that could do quite a bit of damage. Alternatively, you could pull it all the way back to here and get, you know, stunned on top of the Spike Trap, and that might actually kill somebody. So I think it's a pretty good group. And then this is all the same. This is all the same. Let's see if there's anything else I changed. I think, obviously, I changed the Pete Poundmore that used to be here. I put in this group of Stairmasters. Here I put in a Spike Trap. I'm not sure if this is the same group or if I changed this as well, but I've changed the placement on this a little bit, hoping that you can't pull it as easily. I'm still thinking if you put a volley like right here, you'd be able to hit this Cyclops, so it might be something that I have to move back a little bit. And then I think everything from that point on is the same. Obviously, my boss room is a Counts Nottingham still. So we'll do one replay. That's probably... I'll do it from the competition. But I've still changed a few things since the competition ended as well. So let's do like one of the later replays here. We could do this guy. He's only level 28, so I'm actually surprised how far he makes it. He uses all 4 potions though, so he might be a good candidate for looking at like the sustained damage of my castle. So we'll go on ×2, and this will be the last replay for this video. And I'll do a couple more videos of the replays from this competition. Also, there's a new competition being registered for right now. Anyone who's level 26 or over can take part. It's an attack-focused competition. I'll be taking part in it. I still have to register, but it should be pretty fun. So anybody who can get their, you know, heroes and castle up to level 26 by that time, I think you should definitely take part. Obviously, you won't probably win unless you're level 30 and 32 castle, but it's still fun, you know? It gives kind of more of a meaning to just attacking castles, especially if you have no use for loot anymore, like a lot of the top players do. I was surprised with how much fun I had with this competition. It was really great. So we can speed this up because these Mr. Boom Booms take forever to kill, especially for lower level people. Alright, so he's used 1 potion. That's pretty standard for a lot of people. We noticed that first mage used 1 potion, so we're getting into kind of the changes of my castle now. I can go to ×2 though. But as you can see, he goes back over the Spike Trap, which takes actually 2 extra ticks of damage and takes him down to very low life. And that's kind of another reason why I put that in there. He also took another Ballista Trap shot, which is really good for me. He's taking a little bit of extra damage because he's lower level, but for the most part, you know, it would only be a couple hundred points of damage that he would be difference here. Now, there's already changes here that you can see if I can pause this. Basically, this spike trap used to be as far over as it possibly could be. I've moved it to kind of be equal to this point, so there's like a small strip that you have that's like a safe zone over here that I don't really think will provide you the angles necessary to actually hit one of my creatures over there. And if you've aggro them and just run down this lane, I think you're going to have to vault back over this. So I don't really think the little bit of dead space, like one hex zone right here, will be a big deal. So I've moved it over a little bit to deny this angle from people, because I believe he's going to end up getting this shot and pulling it over the wall, which is unfortunate because you don't really get to see how this works or how it's intended to work. But I mean, you can see he takes quite a bit of damage from these guys. They're no joke at level 32. It's actually level 30 that they start getting good, because, or maybe it's 28. It's whatever their rank 4 is. They get quite a bit of a damage buff on their little displacement field thing. Anyone who's lower level than that won't really be able to use it to as good of effect as I am. And obviously I changed this to a spike trap afterwards, because people who vault back over this, like he's doing, I want them to take a little bit of extra damage. This is the smart way of engaging this, to lure the bad dog around the corner before you kill it so he doesn't have increased attack speed. Alright, so he's got one potion left. He's doing a pretty good job of, you know, keeping things away from himself with bear traps and stuff like that. And there's the last potion used. And he's still got a decent amount of my castle to go, so I would be pretty confident in winning this if I didn't know, you know, the outcome already. But obviously he's 4 levels under my castle, so he did quite well for, you know, his level. But these traps are just taking chunks and chunks out of him. And that's kind of the idea of killing people these days, is to take chunks out of them with traps like this and force them to use all of their potions up. That's kind of the ideal way of killing someone now. Obviously archers and mages, you can still just DPS them down and kill them. But knights and stuff, you know, I had one level 30 knight come through, I believe. And he used all 4 potions, but he just barely made it through. But yeah, this is going to end this first part of the video. I'll go through and do a lot more of these replays in a couple other parts. So I hope you guys enjoy that. You know, if you enjoyed it, please subscribe. And yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. So thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you next time.